What is up, Sports Geeks? It's your host, Josh, here back with another fantasy football video, joined by Alec. As always, Alec, we have 5 receivers here today that all are dark horse candidates to finish as the overall wide receiver one to dethrone your Cincinnati Bengal, Jamar Chase. Obviously going to be tough to do if he has a triple crown season like he did last year. But we have 5 guys here today that all have legitimate cases to be the overall wide receiver one, right? This isn't we need 2 guys to get hurt and then the quarterback to just start to pepper him with targets. No, there's legitimate cases for these 5 guys. All of them are being drafted outside of the first round, some of them even outside of the first 3 rounds. So just keep that in mind. You could end up with literally 2 or 3 of these guys on your team. We're going to go from highest ADP to lowest ADP here, starting out with Nico Collins. So Nico Collins is a guy that I absolutely loved last year. Alec, you and I both did, and we love him probably even more this year. You're paying a higher price. He's currently being drafted as the wide receiver 7, 14th overall. But this is a guy who was wide receiver 8 points per game last year, right? And was well on his way to breaking 2,000 yards before he got hurt, right? And I understand he came back from the injury, but Nico Collins last year was the clear-cut alpha in a team that brought in Stephon Diggs and had Tank Dell there as well. This year, Tank Dell probably won't step on the field, unfortunately, because of his leg injury late last year. And Stephon Diggs isn't there anymore, right? So you bring in the pair of Iowa State receivers, right, in Higgins and Noel. Yes, they're going to be serviceable. Yes, they're going to run routes. I'm sure some of them are going to have, like one of them, they're going to have 1 or 2 blow-up weeks, right? But Nico Collins in a CJ Stroud-led offense is going to have at least 10 targets pretty much every single week. And you pair that together with his deep ball ability and his ability to just take the top off of defense. I love Nico Collins at the value. And I think he led the NFL in receiving yards until he got hurt last year. So we don't have to convince you too much with Nico Collins. You've seen it before. I think we just have to see it for a full season, and he very easily could be the wide receiver 1.
Yeah, and I definitely, and CJ Stroud also had, a kind of a sophomore slump last year. And because Bobby Slowick was their offensive coordinator, didn't go as well as his rookie year. So they're bringing in a new OC. Hopefully that can kind of smooth things out a little bit. And I really think kind of with Nico Collins, he's very efficient in the red zone as well. So I really think with some, with that red zone efficiency, kind of mixed with him staying healthy, he could definitely be the wide receiver 1 this year for sure.
Yep, absolutely. I completely agree. And I believe you have the second and third highest ADP guys here for the dark horse candidates.
Yeah, so second guy here, so the highest of my 2 guys. I'm going to go Drake London here. So Drake London, when Michael Penix started, had over a 30% target share in an offense where Darnell Mooney was, playing well last year. They still had, I know we're frustrated with Kyle Pitts after year 5, but I mean, they still had Kyle Pitts on that roster. Michael Penix was slinging the ball, but basically only to Drake London. I think Drake London's upside is pretty crazy. And I think that he's being majorly discounted because, it's kind of like Nico Collins was last year, where it's like, okay, we think he's good, but we're not sure of one, that, the QB sustaining success, but 2, kind of like the offense keeping up as well. But I think Michael Penix is obviously good enough in college to support 3 receivers that went high in the draft. So he can definitely, kind of supplement his alpha in the NFL. Drake London and Drake London's going to have a 27+% target share, which we always target.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And he was the wide receiver 2 in 3 weeks with Michael Penix last year, right? And those were Michael Penix's first 3 starts, and he was the wide receiver 2. So you like to think when you have an off season to really establish that chemistry, right? And you have an entire preseason where you're going together knowing Penix is the starter, right? You have the entire offseason, the entire preseason where it is QB1 and wide receiver 1 on the depth chart the entire time. And so I think I'm personally excited to see how good Drake London is, because I think that the Nico Collins that we saw last year, it was a perfect comparison you had there. The Nico Collins we saw last year before the injury is exactly what we could see out of Drake London, where it's just like, I'm the alpha on my team. Everybody knew I was the alpha on my team. I'm like borderline the alpha in the league, right? And I'm not saying he's the best receiver in the league, but like he enters the conversation where I'm in that second tier that's outside of Jamar and Jettis, right? And I think Drake London this year could be the year in which he makes that jump.
Yeah, and really, I mean, to be the alpha of the league, he could basically have the highest target percentage, target share in the league.
Mhm.
I'm not saying he's better than Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson, but they have other good weapons on their team. I
Yeah.
mean, this Falcons team has like they had Ray McCall last year, but Darnell Mooney's coming back. Darnell Mooney's been hurt.
Mhm.
Kyle Pitts has shown nothing since his rookie year. So why can't, high end Drake
Mhm.
London have a 35% target share? I mean, it's
Yep.
definitely within the range of possibilities.
Yeah, and anybody that's gonna say you guys were just high on Darnell Mooney 2 weeks ago, why are you going against yourself?
Yeah.
We're high on Darnell Mooney as the wide receiver 48, right? So, we're
Yeah.
saying we think he can finish as the wide receiver 35. The wide receiver 35 is not going to hinder the ability for Drake London to potentially be the wide receiver 1
Yeah.
overall. I believe last year that you had T. Higgins as the wide receiver 19.
Yeah, and,
So,
and he
it's
averaged
okay.
18 PPR points per game in the games he was healthy. And Jamar Chase still, had what was it, 1,700 yards?
Yeah, a
Okay,
lot.
so yeah. So yeah. So third guy on this list, third in ADP, I'm gonna go Tyreek Hill here. And the reason I say this, I know there's a lot of tension coming out of Miami. The press conferences are a little weird after what Tyreek said, like later last year when he said he was kind of out on Miami. But if Tua stays healthy, I'm telling you, I might be burned by this. I might have recency bias with Tyreek Hill. What he did 2 years ago, he was what was he point? I think he was like 0.02 off, or like it was like something really close from being the wide receiver one over CD Lamb that year.
Mhm.
Uh, Tyreek Hill is a freak athlete, and I know he's 31, but I honestly think if they can get their stuff together in Miami, and they can kind of get back to doing what they were doing even early in the season last year before Tua got hurt and things kind of fell off the wagon. I
Mhm.
really think that Tyreek Hill has a shot at this. I really do. Am I crazy?
No, no, you're not. I think I completely agree. I think that when I look at Tyreek Hill and see what he did 2 years ago, it's hard for me to sit here and say that he as a player is significantly worse than what he was 2 years ago. Like, I understand 29 to 31 is a jump, right? That's a jump in which you commonly will see people start to decline. I didn't see Tyreek Hill as a player decline last year. Their offense was awful, right? I mean, compared to what it was 2 years ago. So that's the issue. It's not Tyreek Hill, it's your offense as a whole. And I understand Tyreek Hill has a big role in that, but if things click in this offense, Tyreek Hill will be the reason why. And if he is, we all know we've seen what he can do. We've seen him go for 230 yards in the first quarter. We've seen the explosive ability that he has. And yeah, given the value, it's he's certainly a candidate, a dark horse candidate to be the wide receiver 1 overall.
Yeah, this is one of those guys that we talk about every year where it's like if he hits, I mean, dude, you win your fantasy league. But if he
Right.
doesn't hit, like you're kind of screwed.
Right, absolutely. This is a guy that this is of our 5 guys here, this is probably the least favorable just overall draft value, if you will, in my opinion, because the risk for failure is a lot higher than everybody else. Whereas I think everybody else, like Nico Collins' floor, he's the wide receiver 7. His healthy floor is probably wide receiver 10.
Yep.
Like, I mean, so it's not Drake London is probably floor is wide receiver 15, maybe. Like, so I don't think that there's as low of a floor for these other guys. But no, I absolutely love that with Tyreek Hill. We're flying through these guys here. I'm going to go to my the second one here. This is our 4th guy overall. It's going to be Jackson Smith and Jigba. And I'm looking at him at wide receiver 14, 33rd overall. And this is a guy that's really, really hard for me to look at the weapons in this offense and say that he's not going to get absolutely hammered with targets. And I look at him last year, wide receiver 9 overall last year. You're bringing in Sam Darnold into this offense. I think overall that this team can service a overall wide receiver 1. Cooper Kupp's on the decline. We've seen that, right? I don't think Cooper Kupp's going to come in here and put up 2019 Triple Crown Cooper Kupp numbers. Actually, I would bet a lot of money that he's not going to. And I think JSN's emerging, right? We had saw 2 years ago where he kind of struggled to break in to that offense. Last year, clearly asserted himself and said, "I'm the guy." I think this year it's just going to be even more, right? This is the year in which for him, this is where you cement yourself and a 30 million a year, extend fully guaranteed contract extension. And this is where I think we see JSN 10, 12, 14 targets a game, right? Not averaging 14, but flirting with 14 or 15 in plenty of games. And I also think their team's just going to be losing games. And when you're trying to fight back from behind, JSN is the absolutely perfect receiver because he can run every single route and he's so good at every route that's under 15 yards. So when it's 3rd and 4 and you need to throw the ball, 3rd and 2 and you need to throw the ball, you're probably going to look at JSN. And I think that overall, I could see him leading the league in receptions this year. Obviously, in PPR, that helps.
Yeah, so that's what you literally stole the words right from me. To win, to be wide receiver one in fantasy, you probably have to have around 105 to 115 catches minimum, and
Mhm.
then you have to have 1,700 yards. I really think that's within the range of possible. As crazy as that sounds, for a guy to take that big of a leap, we've seen CeeDee Lamb do it. We've seen countless guys take that leap. And I really think JSN it really depends on if Sam Darnold's actually good. So we saw him do good in Minnesota. Can Sam Darnold kind of replicate that in Seattle? We'll see. But just the target share alone is going to give him a dark horse chance to actually be the wide receiver one alone. That's even if he doesn't play, 17 perfect weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, last year he put up 100 receptions, right?
Yeah.
And started the year as the wide receiver 2, whereas this year you're starting as the clear cut wide receiver 1. So I completely agree. I think this year I could see him winning the. I mean, I could see him putting up 130 receptions on the year and even more. I mean, very easily. In a PPR format, that's what you need out of JSN, right? In a standard format, when you're not getting points per reception, JSN's value I think falls quite a bit just because of how he's a PPR merchant, as the youngins call him nowadays. So yeah, I agree. I think JSN's the receptions is the clear upside value, but he also has the value on the yards and obviously touchdowns, right? Sam Darnold is able to service touchdowns. We saw him, I mean, put up what 30 some touchdowns last year. So if you're throwing 30 touchdowns in the Seattle offense, JSN is going to catch double digits easy, like at least. And he had 4 and 6 in his career. So you see the uptick in touchdowns with continuing the advancement in receptions, and it's right there.
Yeah, and I mean he's competing with targets against a 31-year-old Cooper Cup, Torrey Horton, who I think is going to get a lot of playing time. Their rookie from Colorado State,
Mhm.
Marquez Valdez Scantling. I'm going to say that again: Marquez Valdez Scantling and Elijah Arroyo, their rookie tight end, with AJ Barner as well. Like he needs to have a. And we talked about we talked about people, Drake London with a 30% target share. JSN should have a close to a 30% target share. Like that's within the range of possibility for sure.
Absolutely. If you told me coming into the season as like if we were doing a hot takes video, which is coming out soon, if we were doing a hot takes video and you said Jason's gonna have a 40% target share,
Yeah.
I've heard crazier hot takes than that because
Yeah.
genuinely, if you're Sam Darnold, it should be read number 1 is JSN, read number 2, read number 3 is probably JSN. So, like, yeah, no,
Yeah.
I completely agree with that. Speaking of guys who I think are alphas on their team, let's go to Rashee Rice here. This is the 5th and final guy here. And I think that Rashee Rice, currently being drafted at wide receiver 21, 48th overall, in my opinion, maybe the best value receiver you can find in the entirety of fantasy football this year. He was wide receiver 2 through 3 weeks last year. 2 years ago, we talked about this last year. 2 years ago, they schemed the ball for a rookie to they schemed plays to get the ball into a rookie Rashee Rice's hands. Last year, they very clearly said, "Yeah, no, you're our guy." Through 3 weeks, he was getting peppered with targets and performed great, right? I mean, as long as he's not driving a car down the highway, he's going to be fine. And I mean, he's very good route runner, great hands, and he also has Patrick Mahomes throwing him the football, right? And I think that's one of the biggest things, right? How much does Jamar Chase go down if Joe Burrow's not there? Rashee Rice goes up so much because Patrick Mahomes is there, and Patrick Mahomes loves him. I understand you have Xavier Worthy there now, who wasn't there 2 years ago when we saw Rashee Rice do all of that, but I don't think it matters. They're so different. They're such different players, right? And I think Rashee Rice, when you look at that, he's coming back from the injury. I understand, but I absolutely love the value I'm getting at Rashee Rice here, and I
No.
think
Yeah.
very easily could be the wide receiver 1.
Yeah. No. I think potentially with Rashee Rice this year, his wide receiver one might mean in PPR points per game because he might get suspended.
Yeah,
But I definitely think it's within the realm of possibility. Rashee Rice, I mean, you see train, and I take training camp things with a grain of salt. But every Chiefs report I read is, it was a 10-play drive, and Rashee Rice had 6 targets. on that drive. Like they pepper him with targets. They have since the bye week his rookie year. I know we've talked about this a
Yep.
million times. He didn't get any run before the bye week in his rookie year. And then after that, we've talked about this hundreds of times on this podcast. They literally just peppered him with 10 plus targets every week, including their playoff run. And then
Mhm.
they did last year before he tore his LCL.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's like, he's the alpha. Travis Kelsey's kind of, going downhill a little bit. They don't
Mhm.
have that second wide receiver type. This is a perfect guy where if you smash the first 3 rounds of your draft, if you go hero RB, you go double RB, and then a wide out, and you take Rashee Rice, he has to sit on your bench. You just find a way to win 3-4 games while he's out early in the year. He's going to win you a fantasy playoffs.
Oh yeah.
He's one of those guys where you draft and you're like, how does this guy have CMC, CMC and two other and Drake London and Rashee Rice? You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like it's just like one of those people where you're like, dude, this guy's team's stacked.
Yeah. Or if you're drafting like at the beginning of, I mean, I just did a mock draft too, which you'll see actually in a YouTube short here out soon, is where I go Jamar Chase, and then at the end I go Drake London and Devon Achane, and then get Rashee Rice again. So how does this guy have Rashee Rice starting as his flex, right, in the playoffs? And I mean, there's when you were talking about like the training camp reports, right? And I agree with you. Take a lot of them with a grain of salt. I completely believe those because we've seen that in the regular season where the Chiefs have a 10-play drive and Rashee Rice is targeted on 6 of them. So that's believable. That's not absurd to hear. And I mean, 2 years ago, Rashee Rice was very good towards the end of the season. Travis Kelsey was still the tight end 3 2 years ago. So the decline from Travis Kelsey, I would even argue that the added volume that like Xavier Worthy is going to get is just gonna balance that out, right? And Rashee Rice's volume that he saw 2 years ago, he's still able to see the volume he saw last year through the first 3 weeks that put him at wide receiver 2 to only Malik Neighbors through 3 weeks. He's still going to be able to see, which gives him obviously the ability to finish as the wide receiver 1 overall. If he gets suspended, then in points per game.
Yeah. And with all due respect, you brought up Xavier Worthy. Like, I think Xavier Worthy's a good player, but he's not Rashee Rice in this offense.
No.
And they don't respect him like they do Rashee Rice because the way that they've peppered Rashee Rice with targets, I mean, he might as well be Malik Neighbors or Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson in this offense because that's the way they target him.
Yeah. If you gave Xavier Worthy the amount of touches Rashee Rice got, he would be out for the season by week 4. Like it's just
it's kind of crazy how long Tyreek Hill has lasted in the NFL with how small he is.
Yeah.
Because like I know he's a little more compact than Xavier Worthy. Like how much more does Tyreek Hill weigh than Xavier Worthy? Like 20 pounds more?
Tyreek Hill's 185. Xavier Worthy is
like 165.
Yeah, I believe so. Or look, pulled up 172 is what he's listed at.
Gotcha. There's no way he weighs 172.
No, he's 172 soaking wet with a sweatshirt on.
Random thought. What did Tez Johnson weigh again? Was it like 150?
It was like 152 or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember you texting me at the combine. I was like, he weighed in at like 152. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, and the funny thing about, I mean, we're gonna go off on a tangent here, but like Tez Johnson didn't even crush the agility drills.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, everybody here has like 40 pounds on you. That's the one thing you have to be able to beat them at is what value do you offer then if you're not winning the agility stuff?
I don't know.
But there's a reason why we're not telling you to draft Tez Johnson right here. But those are our 5 guys. I mean, I think all 5 of these guys have serious wide receiver 1 upside, and you could very easily have a draft in which you end up with Nico Collins, Drake London, and Rashee Rice, in which you have 3 dark horse wide receiver 1 candidates in your starting lineup. So, I mean, between Nico Collins and then you have Drake London, Tyreek Hill, JSN, and then Rashee Rice, 5 guys that you need to be targeting. I mean, you definitely, if you're looking to place a bet on somebody to finish as the wide receiver 1, the value on those 5 guys is going to be really good. But other than that, we do have more content coming out. We have hot takes for the season. We have continued mock drafts that are about to start here soon. So make sure to continue to check those out. But other than that, this has been the Sports Keys podcast. They play, we talk. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.